morning, everyone. Welcome to this session of Career Maps National Intern Week with the Army. We're delighted to be joined with them today. I'm Sharon Walpole from Career Map, and I'm delighted to be your host for today's session. Just to let you know a few things before we start, this session is being recorded and will be available on Career Map TV on YouTube in a few days. I'll put the link in the box shortly. You will see on the right there, there's a chat function. There'll be opportunities for you to ask loads of questions. Don't worry if we don't get back to you straight away, because there will be a Q&A session following the presentation. I would like to now invite Paul Calvert to join me. Hi, Paul.
Hi there, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Fine. I'm going to hand over to you now, and I will see you later on at the Q&A.
That's great. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Army Officer Internship webinar / brief. Okay, so for the next sort of short period, within the next hour, the idea is to try and get across to you as much information as possible to allow you to make your decision about whether you want to, proceed, whether this is of interest to you, and give you some, ideas and good, hopefully tips and explain the process about gaining an Army Officer Internship. Now, as has already been mentioned there, you've got the chat facility to ask questions, okay? What I'd also suggest is right at the end of this presentation, there's a slide that's going to have the email details from myself and the co-host, Katie, who will, if you note that down at the end. So just in case after this you have any other further questions, you can then, send us emails and then we'll hopefully be able to get back to you and answer them, okay? That's, but obviously try and use the chat function here now, okay? And we'll get back to you. One of the other things as well, sometimes people are a wee bit afraid about, sticking up information there, because, they might feel a wee bit embarrassed about it, but don't, because if you've got a question, you can guarantee there's loads of other people out there have questions too. So for those people who are not aware, there's probably a good couple of hundred people on here now, and this is the first time I've done a presentation where I've not been able to see anybody on it, nor have I been able to take direct questions from anybody on the webinar either. So it's a wee bit strange for me sitting here sort of talking to you all. All you see is a talking head, but I'll do the best that I can. If anybody, I'll try to speak slowly. Being from Northern Ireland, I do occasionally get accused of speaking a little bit too quickly, and that might be a bit difficult for some people. But hopefully, fingers crossed, this is fine and you're okay. Bit about me, I've been in the Army 35 years now. I did 30 odd years, 30 years in the regular Army and left as a Lieutenant Colonel, and I transferred across to the Army Reserve, and I'm now doing a full-time reserve service job, which includes then obviously, which is about Army, recruiting, officer recruiting. And specifically, and why this is important to you, is I am the interface for interns. So whenever you go through your application process and you're in contact with Katie as your customer support manager, eventually you will end up then, for those people who do proceed and want to, being interviewed by myself. Okay, those people who get through all the career employment checks and things like that. We'll see filter some people out, unfortunately. But Katie will be the main sort of point of contact, and then myself. And so those people who will be applying for internships, I will interview you in due course. So we'll have an opportunity to do a face-to-face then, okay? So, bottom line is this is not the first time you're going to find out, and the only opportunity you're going to have to know and find out about internships, okay? So you can find out more. And for some of you, I don't know out there, there's no way of me knowing, I may already have spoken to you or interviewed you, and if I have done, I hope it was okay. Nobody's complained yet, yeah, honestly, I look forward to speaking to the rest of you, it's sort of in due course, and those people who do proceed. Okay, so we've actually got quite a bit to get through here, okay, and I'm a bit verbose a lot of the time, so we'll push on a wee bit. So the next slide we get here is basically the objectives, and this is the point and the reason you're here today. What I'm going to do, give you the overview of the pathway to becoming an Army Officer Intern. We'll also then give a little bit of a chat about the variety of internships available through a different course. And then obviously I'll explain the application process and address any eligibility concerns that you may have. Okay. Now, an awful lot of this information is online. If you go into armyjobs.com and then Google into, Google that or go onto the website and do a deep dive, then you should be able to find out an awful lot of the answers to an awful lot of your questions. Okay. And a good Army officer would be the kind of person who would go online and find out the information rather than sit back and wait for somebody to give it all to them. Okay, so that's just a wee nod, a wee note for your future. Okay, but the information, a lot of it is out there. Some of the intern people that I've actually spoken to already have actually no military experience whatsoever, no friends, family, not been in the cadets, not been in the OTC. And there was one young fellow the other day, and he had so much information about the military that he'd found out, basically by getting off his butt and getting on, scrolling around finding it, and he did a brilliant job. Yeah, so it is possible to get that information, and sometimes it depends on how much effort you're willing to put into it. Okay, what we're going to show now is a video of somebody who's actually done an internship, just to give you a flavour of what it's all about. Okay, and then we'll come back to the next slide after that. Okay. Here we go. Right, great. So hopefully you enjoyed that. The testimonial there from Sophia, obviously, and her experience there with the infantry, in Cyprus and everything else, totally positive. Now, that's the kind of information and the feedback you would get from anybody who's been on a gap year. For those who are not aware, there's 30 slots available each year, and generally, well, it's normally oversubscribed, and obviously we have to select the best in to give them the opportunity. So what's it all about? Army officer internships, what's involved? Effectively, and it was explained earlier on there, but just to remind you, you'll go to Sandhurst after you've been selected, after you've gone through all the different processes. You would then go to Sandhurst for effectively 9 weeks. 8 weeks of officer training and a week of on the range work to get the combat marksmanship test, and then you would then go off to your unit and then embark on whatever it is that between you and the cap badge you've decided to join. You've decided that and they have decided that you can have a go at. Okay, we'll go into more depth about what you might get into in a few slides time. Okay. But basically, whenever you join up and whenever you're with the unit that you're attached to for then maybe up to about 10 months, you will be in charge of, a troop or a platoon of soldiers, and effectively, they're yours to command and to lead. Now, obviously, you won't be doing it completely by yourself. You will have a command team around you. You will have an officer commanding, and you would also have senior NCOs and things who would be helping you. So don't think about we're just throwing you in the deep end and that's it. Literally you go in there and you have a brilliant opportunity, working with your fellow people, to help those people under your command become even better people, and that's how you then develop your leadership style, gain experience. And this is experience that you will use then obviously in the future, whether you stay in the military or whether you decide to go out elsewhere. But say for everybody that's been through it, I'm not aware of anybody who's had a bad time. I think everybody just thinks it's brilliant. And a personal experience of it, not me personally, but being in units where we have had internships, or it used to be called gap year, young officers turn up. The rest of us, the regular officers, were actually quite jealous because these guys seem to get so many other perks and trips and opportunities to go and do things that we wanted to do. However, that's just the way it was. So something to look forward to, absolutely. And I totally recommend it. But who's eligible? Effectively, you can do it before you start degree. But if you've got a first place to read for a first degree at university, or if you graduated within the last 2 years, you can apply. You need to be either in your final year of A levels and up to maximum age. I think it's 28 years by the mid-September of the year that you wish to start training at RMAS Sandhurst in Surrey. You need to have gained 72 UCAS points or equivalent if it's Scotland or whatever, and also 35 A level indicative score points. Okay. Now of that, there in your GCSEs or equivalent, you need to have gained at least a grade C minimum in maths, English, and either a science or a language. So what are we looking for? What in the kind of individual? Clearly, you need to have some kind of confidence. An individual who might be a little bit more mature for their age, certainly for those people planning to do the gap year before the internship, the year before starting university. So do think about that yourself. Have you got the confidence? Yes, your confidence will develop, but we do need a baseline level of confidence. That will be, whenever you go through the processes of the selection, the various events that you do, we will note whether we think that, the military thinks you are confident enough to be given that start. But you also leadership potential, and that can be all sorts of different things. They think, have you got the right personality? Have you got the ability to walk into, meet a group of people, which you will do when you go to the Army Officer Selection Board. We'll go into that in more detail in a minute. But have you got the, do you have that personality? Do you have the presence? Do you have the ability to turn around and then meet 8 people that you'd never met, but or additional 7 other people that you've never met before, and then just all of you get on and then deliver outputs together, at the same time as maintaining respect for each other, and all the other Army's values and standards. Okay, and that's a separate issue too. But you will find out what they are, and it's very important that you understand what they are, and that you live your life by them. Once you've started, or as you're going through the training process, and then on into military service. Mental agility, we want to find out whether or not you've got the intellectual capacity to take information on board, and then to work out what an aim is, what is it you have to actually achieve, and then how are you going to do that, and then to be able to communicate that with your people. And then obviously there'll be lots of factors involved, and there'll be a different situation might change, so we need to work out, have you got the kind of the mental acumen, the mindset that can turn around, can take all of those different factors, and then can come up with a plan and then make it happen. Okay, loyalty and integrity. This sort of very, very much like a sort of two-way thing, but you need to be totally loyal to your people, and also have massive integrity. You all know, we've probably all had the experience whenever somebody has let us down. Okay, and you've probably heard the example. You can forgive, you can never forget. You should never have to forgive. Okay, and integrity is key to that contract, whether it's between yourself and your chain of command, upwards or downwards. Bottom line, what does that mean? If you tell one of your soldiers that you're going to do something for them on a certain day or whatever it is, then you have to see through. And if you don't do it, then obviously you need to communicate with them to explain to them, no, I haven't done that, or I couldn't do it, or something happened. But ultimately, then communication, but it's integrity. You don't say, I'll do it, and then just walk away and leave it, okay? And, you really just need to have a good think about that one, and think about how it reflects on you. Maybe people have let you down in the past and how it felt, right? So, yeah, absolutely. And the loyalty to the crown, to the king, to your cap badge, the unit you'll be working with for, and most importantly, to the people who are under your command, the people in your platoon or troop. Determination. Now that can be, you need to be the kind of person who doesn't take sometimes no for an answer. You're trying to find a way through a problem. Somebody says you've got a problem, you see that as a challenge, and you look forward to working out how am I going to sort this out, so that you're actually able to do what you're expected to do. Okay, we need that's like grit, enthusiasm, that type of thing. Okay, and obviously in that there's a sense of urgency as well. If somebody's told you to do something, then come up with a way forward, but equally communication back and forward up the chain of command. If your OC has asked you to do something, and you think that you can't do it after you've explored it, then communicate back. Got a problem here, but seeing things through is really important. Physical fitness. Now, this is something that's totally within your own gift. You need to achieve the minimum level of fitness and then maintain that throughout your actual military career. Okay, whether it is a year or whether it is for, in my case, 35 years. Okay, so what does that mean? It means you achieve the minimum standard at least whenever you go through the different selection processes, but you don't just turn around and think, oh, well, that's it, I've got over that obstacle, I am fit enough now. You have to maintain that for the rest of your career. And actually, the reality, what you want to be doing, if you want to be looked up to and respected by your peers and by your subordinates, you probably want to be aiming to be sort of top third, when it comes to fitness in your platoon/troop. Okay, so if that means you need to work on it, start working on it. Okay, yourselves, be honest with yourselves. Okay, you need to get yourself, and you need to maintain that level of fitness, because it's the army. Okay, and the army does have to carry kit, lots of kit, sometimes very heavy, and the stronger you are, then the more resilient you'll be, and the more effective you will be in service. Organization skills, right? If you're the kind of person who just totally procrastinates and doesn't get anything done, and everything, you're what people sort of joke and laugh about being an admin disaster or an admin vortex. Well, you do need to have again another think about what are you like, and can you sort that out? And is it because you're lazy, or what is the reason? Okay, you need to be able to get a grip of stuff. Are you the kind of guy or kind of girl who gets up in the morning and makes a bed, and then sets up, and then as you walk around the house, you see things, you put them back in their place. You have a routine. You're hoovering, you're washing, you're doing the dishes, you're doing this, that, and the other. You're helping out. All of those things are important and indicative to yourself as to you the kind of person who should be, considering a sort of a military career. Okay, because clearly, whenever you go to Sandhurst, even if it's say the 8-week element of it, then you will be expected to be organised and to take on simple orders and deliver at a time and a place wherever it's supposed to be. Sense of adventure, clearly, challenge, adventure, you're going to have opportunities, okay? Things that will test you. They will test your mindset, test your ability to overcome potentially fear. Whether it's on assault courses, whether it's adventurous training, going down black run skiing, going deeper and deeper whenever you're doing sub-aqua diving, or running over, assault courses, gymnasiums, all that kind of stuff. But hey, that's what you're here for, isn't it? You want adventure, and this will every time you do something that pushes you, out of your comfort zone, that will help you develop, become a better, stronger person, irrespective of whether you stay in the military after this year or whether you, get on with the rest of your life and become whatever you will. So, opportunities out there for placements. Okay, we're running through basically a bunch of these different cap badges, and some of you will, excuse me, will already know this, what you want. But so Royal Armoured Corps, effectively, you can think everything from sort of our armoured vehicles. Okay, there are many regiments out there, and there's many different platforms that they use. Okay, i.e. vehicles, wheeled or tracked, as it says up there. You would then, have the opportunity to go on exercises with these vehicles, with your people, either in or on a platform, and you probably have the experience to work up on the headquarters as well. And there you go. It says up there, Combined Arms Battle Group Simulators, Battle Group Headquarters, to give you a flavour of what it's all about. Clearly, you're not going to suddenly turn you into the best, platoon or tank commander, within the short period of time that we've got. But certainly, you will get a flavour for it. You will deploy it on exercises, probably. And that is something, again, that whenever you do your chats with the cap badge, for those people wanting to go in that direction, that you would agree, and that they'll explain to you, and you come up with a forecast of events, and you're getting an idea of the experiences that you're going to do. You'll probably end up going away and doing some kind of troop commander course down in I've forgotten, Blandford, down that way, and you would. I guess I gain further experience. Right, if we go across the top, then you got REME, Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers. Clearly, these are the people who to keep going a better word, they fix or things that break, or they maintain things that wear and tear, changing circuit boards, and or keeping the helicopters flying, and or keeping changing power packs on vehicles. Again, wherever they're based, and you'd speak to them, they would then come up with forecast events, and you would go off and shadow and work with their troops. Fantastic troops, very, very bright. And your role there is to lead, and they're the experts, the soldiers themselves, when it comes to actually fixing these things and maintaining them. Again, further across the top, roll signals. Again, when you think about anything to do with communications, modern communications, what we've got to do is to take, a bunch of military capability somewhere, anywhere in the world, deploy it and facilitate it, and enable it to be able to communicate with itself, whether that's integrating satellite communications, but we also need to be able to do it in a secret way, so that the enemy can't basically listen and understand what it is what we're going to do. Our units are held at high readiness, and they will potentially be exercising around the world. So even if it's actually on as an army exercise, it might be somewhere in Africa, it could be anywhere up in the Arctic, it could be somewhere, it's sort of in a desert region as well. But say on top of that, you'll also get the sport adventures training too. And again, you would talk to the Royal Signals whenever you're making your mind up and decide as to what you're going to do. Royal Engineers, they facilitate the military being able to move across any region, but they also are there to deny the enemy the freedom of movement. brilliant organization. It was actually sponsored by the Royal Engineers myself when I was a young officer, but they've got some absolutely fantastic kit, lots of armored vehicles and things, on the battlefield, facilitating the armored corps infantry to be able to to get around the place. I say and or do route denials. It could be blowing up bridges. It could be filling in gaps, putting down bridges and things. So loads to learn there. Really interesting organisation. Again, very professional, like all of them really. AGC, SPS, staff and personnel support. They're part of like the nervous system, right? They're everywhere, and they're the people that allow and facilitate a lot of the the administration, that everybody from the newest soldier in the unit all the way up to the CO in the unit, and everybody above that as well, whether it's coming to pay or whether it's other courses and things that people sort of need to do. These guys are again have to be bright, very very totally we couldn't do our thing without them, and again some really really fantastic and bright soldiers in the mix there. Royal Artillery, it probably says it in the name there, everything from the old-fashioned World War II steam guns, big artillery, dumb ammunition that you could throw 35 miles or chuck fire at 35 miles, all the way through to much more technical stuff now. We're talking drone technology. Effectively they need to be, they will go out and help to find find the enemy in the battle space, as part of the ISTAR, basically surveillance and target acquisition and stuff like that, so we can get eyes on, see what's happening, but at the same time they can attack using whatever different types of artillery pieces. Royal Army Medical, or the Army Medical Services, AMS, and that's made up of numerous cap badges, Royal Army Medical Corps, QAs, that type of thing. But again, wherever the military goes, we have to have medical services staff with us. Your attachment to them maybe you're about to go off and do, I don't know, a medical degree. You might be going off, as an administrative officer, effectively to help within the Army Medical Services and get a flavour of what they do. Again, loads of different opportunities there. Royal Logistic Corps, current cap badge now myself. Again, masses of different opportunities within that cap badge. Really too many to talk about now, but you've even got port and maritime, fuels, transport, supply, movements, air dispatch. There's absolutely loads going on there, but once you'll be able to get more of an information on that, on all of these cap badges, as it were, anyway, online whenever you do your deep dive into the army jobs. You can get most of the information on there, and you see what all these cap badges do. Now you've got the AGC, SPS, and I think that's a double tap there, but that's actually now talking more about the opportunity for it to give you a flavour of management accounting. So say you're going to go do an accountancy degree, maybe that's the kind of thing you might want to come in, have a go with, go and have a look at AGC, see what they do and work out, is that something that can add to and, help you, get a better CV going forward. If you are going to do an accountancy, you don't obviously have to do an accountancy degree after that, but I'm just suggesting, it would give you an idea. But again, management of people, making sure that, everybody's looked after. RMP, red caps, this is the one element within the army where our soldiers join, and they join up as lance corporals. As you can see, there are 5 regiments, 2 general police duties. They've also got their own SIB, again, special investigation branch, special ops regiment as well. More about that, whenever you join them, really. But again, you could go and you spend a year with them, totally, get an idea of what they do and whether you think that's for you. And then the infantry itself. Now, how many cap badges are there? Loads. As Sophia right at the beginning there with the rifles out in Cyprus, think of a cap badge. Yeah. What we would do is you would speak to the infantry, say after you've got your main board pass, and then we'll see the units that are actually looking to take on a young officer for a gap year or an intern, and they exercise all around the world all the time. So there's bags of opportunities there for you. And should be really, really interesting. And again, and that's real quite a good test of yourself there as well. Especially when you go on 2-3 week whatever deployments and exercises to Kenya and Africa, maybe, out to other parts of Africa, or maybe up into up to Norway and places like that. Right. What have we got next then? Okay, just have a look there. I'm not going to sort of read them all out there, okay? But basically, those are testimonials. There's 6 there from different people who have, been there, seen it and done it. They obviously all really enjoyed themselves, okay? So you've actually got somebody up there, they've been away on a jungle exercise, probably with, potentially, more than likely with an infantry unit. Doesn't mean it might not have been with a different cap badge, because ultimately, when you join the army, we teach you to be an infanteer initially, because those are the basic skills and drills. Yeah, you need to be able to do the basic common military things properly and rightly. And then you can go in and specialize in infantry and gain more knowledge, and or you go off and then do your own specific to cap badge, training. There's somebody there who's mentioned about being the captain of the guard at Windsor Castle. You can only imagine that. You can imagine it. You can probably Google it and see it online. If you go to Windsor Castle, you can watch it. Tower of London as well, that type of thing. You might actually have an opportunity to do that. What an experience. There's somebody talking about doing diving, scuba diving. Training at Worthy Down. And I mentioned there, platoon staff, colour sergeant, staff sergeant, constantly supportive. There's somebody there who's thought that their age might be a hindrance, but you know what, and I can add to it. Bottom line is, of course, they know that you've got no experience when you turn up. Okay, they know that you've got no experience. You might have been in the cadets or something like that. That's fair enough, but ultimately, all they want is someone who's going to turn up and be honest. We talked about the integrity piece, okay, and lean in and try to be helpful, and and work with them. And very, very, for most people, quite quickly after you start, your colour sergeant or staff sergeant, and with your other administrative staff, probably like a platoon sergeant or admin sergeant. And then you're probably going to have 3 or 4 section commanders who are corporals, and then each of those sections would have a lance corporal as a section second in command, and then your troops. They're all there as a group to help you. They don't want to see you fail. They're going to help you out. They're going to, they're there to help you. And I say, if the team works, you're going to have a fantastic time. There's somebody else who talked about going off the captain the regimental Nordic ski team. Well, hey, there you go. If you've done a bit of skiing in your past, if you're able to turn around and convince whoever it is in the unit you're the person for it, why not? Like everything in life, sometimes you have to volunteer, and the person who puts the hand up first, gets picked, and then away you go, and you can have these fantastic opportunities. Well, as I said, there was something like 6 weeks off work to ski, and obviously they're being paid. It's not like you're doing it at your cost or anything like that. So absolutely, all fantastic stuff. Okay, let's go through then the process itself. Basically, it starts with applying online for those people who haven't already done so. Army jobs, regular officer, and then scroll through that and work your way to the internship piece. You're going to have to fill in all sorts of administrative paperwork, including medical forms, to say that you're basically fit initially. But top tip: if you haven't done that already, don't lie on it, because ultimately you will be checked. You will have to go in front of an army or a capita, or basically a doctor who will also check all of your medical documents and stuff from your primary healthcare record, which comes from your GP, okay, or whatever happens in if you're coming from out with the UK. Yeah, so if you get through those pre-employment checks, you will then be invited to interview, and that's where you and I will have our first chat, and I'll be basically acting like another sort of filter, checking your personality, checking out your motivations, checking out, from my point of view, your intellect, and are you actually the right fit for this? Okay. Now, in most cases, the chances are, yes, absolutely. I would forward you, I'll support you, for to go on to AOSB, Army Officer Selection Board, happens in Westbury, for the initial element, which is the briefing. But again, prior to that and after the interview, or possibly sometimes before the interview, you would be doing a medical, and that's where anything you said online and all the paperwork that's been put in has been looked after and scrutinized by a doctor who will then, you will do run-ups with the nurse. You will then do the actual medical consultation, and unfortunately, this is where many of the applicants fall by the wayside. Now, talking about officer recruitment in general, there's probably about 5% of people get through, and the majority of people who don't get through is because of some issue that's happened to do with the medical. Okay, hopefully you won't have that problem, and you will move forward. You would then be you would in working with myself and Katie in particular, because she is like, she is the person you really need to look after. Okay, she will, as the candidate support manager, that we will work out when we think you should go forward for your briefing course. Briefing at Westbury, day and a half. You will turn up there effectively on the Monday morning. You're there all day, stay Monday night, and then you're there on Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday about lunchtime, then that's it. They will then turn around and say they'll give you different, we'll go into more detail in a minute, okay? But so you get through the briefing stage of things, then potentially you can go for an OFV, officer familiarization visit, okay? For some CAP badges, they won't allow it until you've actually managed to pass the main board, okay, AOSB main board. So either before or after main board, you would then go and for an officer familiarization visit. So all the way through, and this is obviously taking a period of time, we will have spoken, we'll have worked out what it is you want to do, why you want to do it, and we'll try and identify the peg and the hole to make sure that you're the right person to fit in that hole, and so you get the best out of it, and we get the best out of you. Yeah. Okay. AOSB main board itself, that's 3.5. They used to say 3.5 testing days. Again, you go back to Westbury, same place. You turn up there on a Tuesday morning. You're there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you'll finish about Friday lunchtime, and away you go. And then that's when they will then, decide whether or not they're going to give you a place or not, and offer you the opportunity to go forward. Then regimental corps interviews, where you will go to your chosen CAP badge, and then they'll work out the units that you're going to go to, and then you can then start getting more of an idea on what are you actually going to do during this period of time. The first 2 months is going to be at Sandhurst approximately, and then that the final 10 months you're going to be with your unit wherever that might be, and you might just be with a unit for a couple of months in one part of the world, maybe go to another unit, maybe go and do other courses. Okay, so again, that's all stuff you can work out, and we'll find out in the future. Okay, it's no black and white there, but it's shaped later. Then you would go and do, before Sandhurst itself, you used to go to the 2-month course, Sandhurst short. You will go do a pre-preparation course, and then you will start your officer training at RMAS for that 2-month period, and then away you go. Army Officer Selection Boards themselves, the briefing bit, Westbury, already gone into some of that already, okay, covered some of that. But at the end of the briefing, that day and a half that you're down there, as you can see there, just that type of thing, you will turn up, you will be given a bib, which has got a colour. There'll be up to 8 of you in a section or a syndicate, and numbered 1 to 8. Okay, so that, and you'll be referred to as, like Red 5 there, or Red 4, Red 2. Okay. You'll not be called Paul or whatever your first name is, okay? But what you guys do as a syndicate in your own time, that's totally up to yourselves, okay? So the categories you'll get after you do, after you've done the briefing course. Cat 1, that's, yeah, good to go. Green flag, green light, where you go. Cat 2, they might find out there's an issue with there might be an issue that you were really strong in most of the areas, but maybe there was something wrong somewhere. For a lot of people, actually, it tends to be the fitness side of things. Really, they're just not ready for it at the time. Now, this is not a you might not be able to, because if there's a delay, and that delay is going to be more than whatever it is, a couple of months, that might affect the actual time frame to get you in, get you ready for the next the next year's intake. It's not the end of the world, because remember, if at the end of university, if you still want to go and do an intake, you potentially could come back, go forward to main board within the 2 years after you pass your degree. Okay, so there's potential, but as everything, sometimes situation, circumstances change. So that's as at today. Okay, but the future might be different. Cat 3. Before we let you go, but there's issues there. Now, as I said to you earlier on, I'll be the one who's been interviewing you and taking you through it. Whenever I go through your report, but once I get it, I will communicate with you, give you an idea, and give you the heads up on where they find your weaknesses, and give you the opportunity then to try and address those before you would go back to have a go at main board. Okay. If it's Cat 4, well, you certainly won't be progressing to intern. This turn of the handle. That doesn't mean that potentially, after your degree, if you were looking at doing one before degree, that potentially we might have an opportunity in the future. You might. No guarantees. Right, main board itself, 3.5 testing days. So there you go. You can read that yourselves. There's going to be physical tests. You knew that. Again, if you Google it, go online, Army jobs, you can find out what the tests are composed of. There's a multi-stage fitness test. There's also a Russian deadlift type thing, basically with a bar, straight bar, and you have to lift it. That's approximately 76 kilograms. There's a 4-kilogram med ball throw, and the MSFT, I think it has to be the bleed test done in level 8.7. Minimum. Okay, when I say all these things, these are the minimum standard. Okay, you should be hoping and aiming to achieve well above that. Okay. Introductory talks, again, this is part of where they're going to work on, do they think you have the confidence that we could actually put you in front of soldiers and let you, crack on as a troop commander. Yeah. I mean, if you think about somebody who's going to be a direct entry soldier or a direct entry officer, they're going to have a whole year at Sandhurst to develop. We're expecting you to, within 8 weeks, to be that person. So we probably expect, our candidates for internships to be slightly more mature. Okay. Yeah, all of this information, your confidence and stuff comes out during all of these different events that we're going to put you through. And there's written tests, demonstrate your written communication. So that'll be an essay on a subject that they'll give you at the time, and away you go. Again, some of this stuff here, if you actually think through it and logically, you can then, work out how you would attack this. You're going to write an introduction, you're going to write your main body, and you're going to then do a summary on what you told them. Wow, who knew that? Okay, so I'm sure you've all written essays before, but again, that's what you think about it. Psychometric testing, Army cognitive test. There's general trainability index. There's all sorts of different names for these types of things. But anyway, psychometric tests to make sure that that they're trying to filter you in to see if you've got that mental capacity that you can actually take lots of information on board and utilize it, and that you're good with maths, you're good with, you're good with figures, you're good with reading comprehension, that type of thing. Okay, day 2. So teamwork, open discussions. So you'll all be sat there with members of your group, say up to 8 people, a range of topics, and you got the opportunity to discuss these things. So what does that mean? That means you need to be aware of current affairs. You need to understand what's going on. I'm sure I don't need to tell you now, but what's about to happen in America in the next couple of months. We've obviously got American elections, so things like that. Being aware, who's running, what are the strengths and weaknesses. We've got new political party in the UK. There might be discussions on that. There might be topical things about women's health, women's interests, or female interests, abortion, that type of thing. You need to have a view on these things, okay? And it doesn't, having an opinion is one thing. You also need to be able to debate and to understand, to listen to other people's take their points of view, and not attack them. The whole idea is if you totally disagree, you're not necessarily right. It's just that's their view. You need to be aware of that. You need to turn around and listen to it and be respectful toward each other whenever you are discussing anything at all. Interviews, there'll be numerous interviews by different people there, whether discussing your academic studies, how you've got to where you are at the minute, your interests, ambitions, where you want to be, why you want to be an Army officer, all of those type of things. Hey, this is a job interview, right? So they want to know, you need to be able to sell why should we give you this opportunity? Okay. Outdoor tasks, you'll be working with the other guys, other members of your team, where you're required to solve problems. There'll be leader-less and leader-led. So for a number of the tasks, it'll be, right, there you go, gang, 8 of you, here's the problem, sort it out. You've got 15 minutes, right? Up to you how you deal with it. And they're watching to see again how you work, and who's the leader, where the natural leadership, who's got natural leadership, in their personality. And then there'll be leader-led, where you specifically are given a task, and then it's up to you to work out how you're going to do it and work, and help your team to try and achieve that aim. Tutorials, you're going to get briefed on. You'll be told what's going to happen about the planning exercise. Think about that. So you got the Plan X, okay, and this is one that really causes a lot of stress for a lot of people. Okay, you're given a bunch of information about something. You have to be able to read, comprehend. And you'll be generally in a team somewhere in the world doing something with a bunch of equipment and a bunch of factors, and some time things, and it could be tractors around the place, ambulances. There could be a phone in a bar which is 10 miles away. There could be, I don't know, somebody's got a mobile phone, but there's no reception. And while you're away doing what you're doing, situation changes. You hear a bang, something happens. I don't know, helicopter crashes. It's basically, how do you react as a leader? You're in that leadership position. You now need to read around the subject, pull out all the factors that are important, work out what you're going to do, and then basically commit that to paper. And in fact, once that's done after the hour that they give you, you will then go in front of your cohort. Each one of you will stand up and then tell the DS your plan. The DS directing staff, okay, the assessors, people who are assessing your ability, what your plan is, and then they will then ask you questions about why you came to and why you decided things. And this is really important that you work out, can you, on your own 2 feet, if somebody asks you a speed, distance, time type question, can you do it in your head or not? Okay, so you need to be sharp about that. Right, listen, we need to move on quickly here. Obstacle course, again, that's to test your fitness. Again, be fit as you possibly can be. Individual obstacles, get around as many of them as you can, as quickly as you can. You get directed on the day what you need to do. There'll be a lecture as well, a few minutes to talk about a subject that you know about, that you've told them that is that you enjoy doing. Crack on. That evening you will have a meal together, and and then the next morning you're up. Another final sort of outdoor team competition between each of the sections, and then they work out the outcome and who's doing what, who's been selected and who hasn't. Then they will send out a letter, which you will get them within the next couple of days. Sandhurst itself, I'm not going to go on about this too long, but basically the first 2 weeks, as you can read there yourselves, basic soldiering skills, learning how to put your boots on, how to march. Then you start getting into a bit about military tactics and leadership, and then thinking about leadership itself and aspects of command, and how are you going to deliver command, what kind of commander are you going to be, managing personnel, and then that week 9, the Army combat marksmanship skills, weapon handling tests and that type of thing, so you're safe around the weapon system. Ladies and gents, listen, that's I could go on and on and on, as I usually do. We're going to go on to Katie here in a second, give her the opportunity to start asking, start answering some of the questions you've had. But remember, you can see point of contact there on that screen, on that slide. So if you need to contact us after this, you've got my email and Katie's. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Super. Thanks very much. We do have lots and lots of questions, and I just want to start by saying that, first off, can you hear me? Great. So before we start, there have been lots and lots of questions, and we want to get through to everybody as much as we can. But if we do not get to yours, I know, Paul, you said it was on the last slide, but could you mind putting your email in the chat as well? Because I don't think we're going to get through everything. Or if there's also a link or something that they can go to, that would be great. There was a couple of things that were put in the chat that I think is worth just reading out that came from your team. An officer internship offers unique and exceptional leadership training and experience, as well as unrivaled insight to the life of an Army officer. Once you've completed your internship, you can elect to remain in the Army as a reservist or a regular officer, or you can choose a completely different path. You do not have to continue serving in the Army after your intern, but we hope that you will. You'll be qualified to serve as an officer in the Army Reserve, both during and after university, or you can complete regular commissioning course if you'd like to serve. I felt that was worth reading out because it did tick some of the answers to some of the questions, but we'll get started now. I've grouped the questions into types. So we're going to first concentrate about the internship questions that came in specifically about that. Second, we'll talk about eligibility. And given the time, if we can, I'll get to some of the other questions about things like specific roles. But to start with, it says, do the interns get to act with soldiers and officers from different ranks? I'm assuming they mean during the actual internship.
Yes, correct. So just to introduce myself, guys, I know Paul's mentioned my name a few times. I am Katie Warren, so I am the candidate support manager for the internship applications. But yes, you will get to interact with different officers, different soldiers as you're doing your internship. Obviously, once you've done your training at Sandhurst, you will then be joined with a unit that is obviously pre-agreed before your training. And then, yes, obviously the unit you are with, that is going to be made up of different officers and soldiers. So you will get that experience with them.
Great. it says, I know leadership is huge in the Army, but how do you build that skill in interns? I know this was touched a bit on the bit of the presentation you had, but maybe you could just give a little, flesh that out a bit.
Yeah, effectively, it's something that, we will see that you've actually got something about you whenever you go through the selection process anyway. So you'll either have those raw ingredients, and it's just the experience that you will have and the type of person. It's a really, really difficult thing to say, how do you build leadership? It's you learn it and you get better at it by doing it. And it's one of those things like a snowball rolling down a hill. It grows and you get better at it with experience. But most people have got some kind of natural acumen, some sort of leadership thing about them, where your friends group to you, they look up to you, they ask you questions, just like your parents when you're growing up, they are your natural leaders. You look up to them, they do things for you, so the training will start, but you don't start the training unless we think that you've actually got, i.e. AOSB will identify in you that you do have those leadership traits, and they will build upon them. So you don't have to worry about you've either got it or you haven't to start with. That will be found out when you go through AOSB, and then you will then go through Sandhurst, and we'll build on that, and then continue to grow with that in your career.
Someone said that how many internships are offered each year, and how do people apply? I think you did talk about that, but maybe it's an opportunity to put that link back in the chat. But anyway, I'll leave that to you.
Yeah,
Katie?
of course. So there's obviously the Army has a demand for interns anyway, which Paul touched on, is 30. So yeah, just in regards to applying, you just need to go onto the Army website, create an account, create the application from there, and then obviously we'll then take you through the process.
Perfect. And Amelia wanted to know, how does an Army bursary for university work?
Yeah, so it can link. So if a candidate has done the internship, because with the Army bursary, we need all candidates to be selected from main board before they can apply. So if you've done the internship, let's say after A-levels, before you start university, you'll carry out your 9-10 months of the internship and then start uni the next September. So from here, you would need to make a new application, regular officer, and then we would take an application from you for the bursary to get reviewed. And then obviously, if you are awarded that bursary, we would then cover you for the 3-4 years that you're at uni. And then obviously, once you graduate, you would then go back to Sandhurst and do the full 42-week commissioning course.
Great. There were a couple of questions, including, I just see James Ford on here again, about young people who've got through some part of the process and wanted to know what it means. So for instance, excuse me if I say your name wrong, Tai Keng said, if you've applied and have been assigned a candidate support manager, does it mean that you've been selected? James asked, my son has gone through the Officer Scholarship Board. Would he have to go through the application process again, i.e. the internship, medical, and so on? And then Claire said, I applied for a regular Army. How long will it be before I join?
I think I did see that one, first of all, about the candidate support manager. I think they mentioned that they had a candidate support manager of Cassie. Now, that doesn't mean that you have been selected. That just means that your application has been created, and then someone from the team will contact you in due course about next steps. With the scholarship, it depends, obviously, if your son or daughter has been awarded the scholarship. If they have been awarded the scholarship, they unfortunately can't do the internship due to the terms and conditions of the scholarship. However, if they were unsuccessful at the scholarship, then the internship is something they can come back to, depending if they've recently just done the scholarship. The medicals, they only last for a year. So if that has expired, we will need to take them through that medical process and then briefing and main board. And then just remind me of the final question again there, Sharon.
Someone has applied for the regular Army, and how long will it take before they join?
Again, it varies. It just depends, obviously, how the process goes with your medical and then attending briefing to see, obviously, what category you're going to receive as to then when you can go to main board. So it can vary anywhere from 9 months to 18 months.
Perfect. And one more on this topic is there any recruitment ongoing? And if not, when is the next cycle?
I'm guessing potentially that's recruitment for the internship. So we do currently have the window open at the moment. So it opens on the 1st of August, closes on the 31st of December. So currently, yes, we are taking potential internship candidates, and that would be to start at Sandhurst September 2025 if successful.
You're doing a great job answering
and
these
that's
questions
it's an annual,
effectively.
yeah. So it's an annual event, okay. At the minute, to TFN until further notice. But the main point here to say to everybody listening, if your intention is to have a go at internship, get the application in as soon as possible, okay. So if you do end up with a medical issue, you can appeal it, okay, and get the best chance of you actually getting that sorted out and you getting through the system, because you cannot attend the Army Officer Selection briefing or main board until you are medically fit, i.e. the Army or somebody has decided that we think we can employ you for up to X many years if you choose to stay on.
Great. So next are some questions around eligibility. Carrie said, you mentioned that one of the eligibility criteria is to have a firm offer at uni. What subjects would be useful?
To be honest, a degree, yeah, is the answer to this one. If you can think about, if there's a particular thing that you want to do in the military, clearly a degree that's related and linked to that would be what you'd probably want to apply for. But don't do a degree, do a degree that you think you're going to pass, that you're going to enjoy doing. Why would you be wanting to spend 3 years or 4 years doing something that you're not going to enjoy? Do a degree that you're going to enjoy. Do something that, if you're really good at maths, do something scientifically, yeah. If you're really good at English literature, well, don't be picking a science-based degree. That's just me sort of using a bit of common sense, I think. But ultimately, a degree is a degree when it comes to this one here. But what you need to have is a firm offer of a degree.
Brilliant. Bright asked, with the eligibility, what if you've graduated over the last 2 years or within the last 10 years?
If it's the last 10 years, definitely not. Unfortunately, no. The internship is only open for candidates who have graduated within the last 2 years.
2 years.
So yeah, if you, obviously going back to the 2 years point, if you graduated in 2022, we would say that this year now is your final chance to apply for the internship to go for next September. Otherwise, after that, unfortunately, it would only be regular or reserve officer that would be an option.
That answers Davis's question as well, because they graduated in 2022. So okay. They'll have to think again. Someone asked a question that came up a couple of times. I'm not sure what this means. It says, would someone need a valid IELTS?
I did have a quick look at that. I think it is an English language qualification. So okay. If you haven't got an English qualification at GCSE level or equivalent, potentially that might be something that could be used if you have got that. But again, it will be checked at the eligibility stage once you make the application.
Mm-hmm. That fits in nicely with we had quite a few questions actually related to that from people who are not UK. I don't know if they're not necessarily citizens or residents, but we had one from Nigeria, a couple about being a Commonwealth citizen, and a couple from Guyana. How does that work if you're not a UK resident?
I think, Katie, you put me right here. Basically, start the process, the application process, and the pre-employment check team at the National Recruitment Centre will turn around and will, it probably not be a new thing. Okay, there will be somebody from that particular country who's applied before, so they will get back to them and say, this is what you need to provide for us. Okay, so just start the process, start applying for it, and then and if you're acceptable, then they will bring you in. If you're not, they'll turn around and say, sorry, but you can't go any further forward.
Perfect. We're doing so great here. I think we're going to finish the questions before we finish this session, except for some that may have popped up since then. Rachel, so these are some questions about specific roles, and I personally think they're quite interesting. Rachel wanted to know, how do you become a drone? What do you need to be a drone pilot?
Ooh, very good question. Paul, I don't know if you can shed some light on that.
As far as I'm aware, our drone pilots are sort of found within the Royal Artillery. Okay, now I could be wrong. I don't know everything, and I stand to be corrected here. But I don't know the answer to that. They will probably want you to go and do some kind of like pilot aptitude test, because you're going to be, a drone pilot. The Royal Artillery, and or whoever the other corps is, and once you go through the process, we can refine that down, and then we can find out the answer, and we'll tell you. Okay, but ultimately, you're not going to become a pilot until you've got through Army Officer Selection Board anyway. So, make your application, come on in. You can always then turn around and then not do it later on if that's the only thing that you actually wanted to do, and you find out that there's, you're not going to be able to do that. I don't think that you would be brought in to be a drone pilot in an internship. Okay, I think that's more of a, you need to, and even then, as an officer, I'm not 100% sure on that, whether that's more of a technical, Corporal X, who's been in, done a couple of years, that might be, the kind of job that they would do. But again, apply, and then we can find out. But I think if you're going to work with drones, and if it is in the artillery, you're probably looking at direct entry. So you'd be doing the year at Sandhurst, but everything comes through after you've passed Army Officer Selection Board, main board.
I think that answers quite a few of the questions. I mean, generally speaking, what you're saying is to apply and then specialize, not going in thinking you're going to be specialized. So and the next kind of question is, again, James Ford, asking how much choice is there on which units you can join for your internship here?
It varies. Obviously, Paul touched base on all of the CAT badges that take part in the internship. Now, obviously, once you get past your briefing and you get the opportunity to do those officer familiarization visits, we would encourage you to do as many as possible. And then that's when you can start having a chat with the CAT badges themselves on what units they would be able to offer you for the internship. And then obviously, if it is something that you're interested in, then you can have that interview and see if you would get a place then prior to Sandhurst.
Well, I think we've done a remarkable good job here. You guys have been very succinct and clear in your answers, which I very much appreciate, and I'm sure our audience does too. We've had a couple of questions that come through, but there is a chat in the email address in there, and I am just going to drop in again. This session has been recorded, and you will be able to watch it again in a couple of days on our YouTube video. So if you've missed it, make sure you have a look, and if you want to share it with anyone else, obviously feel free to do that too. But thank you very much for everybody for joining. I hope you found it informative. I certainly did. Thank you very much to Katie and Paul who have joined us. Have a great day. Hope the sun's shining where you are, and see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
We'll turn our cameras and mic off, and hopefully we'll get it switched off too. Take care. Bye-bye.